You're listening to the Baumbastic Podcast with Andrew Ellis on Inside Arkansas.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Baumbastic Podcast, presented by Inside Arkansas, hosted by Andrew Ellis, and brought to you by the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. We are live for what was supposed to just be a series recap, but with the way this game started playing out, I thought, man, we might just have to go live for the final 3 innings of what's been a chaotic and borderline disastrous Game 3 for Arkansas, who are 9 outs away from losing the series to Georgia. After taking Game 1, you lose a close, competitive Game 2, 5-3. You know, not a shameful loss by very easy to palate. You know, you're thinking, okay, you come back and win the series on Saturday, you'll be okay, man. This game is one that is going to leave you pulling your hair out. But we're here together. We're here to suffer as one Razorback fan base. We're going to watch these final, 2.5 innings here together. We'll see if something crazy happens, and no matter what, we're here to talk about it all. Appreciate you guys for, dealing with the change in schedule a little bit, but also just for being here no matter what, and for suffering through this with me. So, for those that don't have your TV in front of you, it's 14-9. We're currently going to the bottom of the 7th inning now. Arkansas is still facing Matt Scott. Georgia is one of their top relievers who's done a pretty good job keeping them in the game for the most part today. And just like we know, everybody, when you get to Game 3 of a series, you're just trying to scrape together outs the best way you can. He's done a good job doing that for Georgia. We get a well-hit ball by Zach Stewart, and, of course, it's caught at the wall. So out one there in the bottom of the 7th inning. Hopefully I'm not too far behind. Let's see, how far behind am I? It's been chaotic trying to get all this set up and get ready to roll. Yeah, I'm very far behind because now I'm seeing that Kahio Aloy's already on base with a base hit. Let's see what he got here. It's his 2nd hit of the day also. Okay. Nice little rip down the third base line. This is going to be fun to talk about because obviously, everyone's pissed off. And they should be pissed off with the way that Arkansas played, specifically defensively today. There were also some pitches that Arkansas threw where I'm just like, how do you throw that pitch there in that moment? But you know how it is. Like I've had people tweet at me today and be like, let's have a conversation about Nolan Souza, man. We got to get this guy out of the lineup. Reese Robinette was struggling. We got to get this guy out of the lineup. TJ Pompey struggles. We got to get this guy out of the lineup. And, on a day like today, man, it kind of makes sense. But it is just funny because anytime you lose, you start doing the overreaction game. And now we got to find someone else to blame. Sometimes you just don't play well as a team, man. And that's what Arkansas did today. Inexcusable errors, man, that cost them. I'll have to really go back and chart it and really figure this out. I would venture to guess that 5 or 6 Georgia runs came directly because of Arkansas's errors. And that's just the official ones that actually went down in the scorebook as an error. That doesn't even count the, ball up the middle that Kojal gets to and tosses to Souza where it just bounces right out of his glove. I don't know if he would have got if it would have been in time anyway, but this is crazy. And yes, I see some comments coming in. Yes, the game is going on. We kind of altered the schedule, decided, hey, let's just go ahead and go live for the final 3 innings of this one. No, your TV is not behind. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I could see how it'd be very confusing. But about the 3rd or 4th inning is when I started thinking this might just be the kind of game we go live for the final 3 innings. So we're going to watch the final 3 innings together, or final 2.5 innings here, and we'll continue to react to it in the moment. But then we will still do our normal series recap, which I'm sure you guys are going to have great takes about. All right. Who all we got in the chat? We got any of the cool kids in the chat today? Maybe. Few of our guys here. Plus, wouldn't it be cool if they came back and won this game and we were all live together? I'm sure that's what will happen here. Okay. So Arkansas's now got a couple runners on. Again, how far behind am I? Okay, Scott, by the way, thrown 81 pitches, so I can't imagine he goes too much longer. But I was saying a lot of that same stuff yesterday when Caden Aoki was on the mound. He wound up throwing 105 pitches for Georgia, who, as we talked about coming into the series, doesn't have a super long list of arms that they really trust, nor does anybody, And so when you saw their starter, Vigwe, Vigu, whatever we're going to go, whatever we're calling that guy's last name, who was throwing really well for them, he comes out after 2 innings due to injury, which it does sound, by the way, knock on wood, because you genuinely don't want there to anything crazy going on with him. Sounds like it was just forearm cramps. That's why they took him out of the game. So that's a lot better than the alternatives. But once that happened, you started really thinking, man, how is Georgia going to piece together this weekend? Well, when you have a reliever come in and throw damn near 6 innings, 100 pitches yesterday, and now you've got another pitcher who came in the 3rd inning. We're now in the bottom of the 7th inning. He's thrown almost 90 pitches. Sometimes that's just what you got to do. So you think about this Arkansas roster, some of the guys that might be able to do that kind of thing, someone like, I don't know, Gabe Gackle, just not really in a position to do that. And I'm sure we'll talk about him a little bit more in depth which I'm, kind of sick of having the conversation, not because you guys are wrong for wanting to have the conversation, because the conversation just keeps being the same thing. It's not pitching well. Oh, well, hopefully he can get it going. Oh, he just keeps leaving breaking balls right down the middle. He leaves mistakes right over the heart of the plate. If he can stop doing that, he'll be okay. He's addicted to it. What can you say? But let's lock in, though. Let's lock in real quick, because we got Carter Rudenbar at the dish, 3-1. At least that's where it's at on my TV. I have no idea if we're anywhere synced up. All righty. That looks like a walk to Carter Rudenbar. So we got bases juiced now. 1 out. This is fun. Right? Still a lot of game left. Perhaps, unfortunately, you could argue, because there's just a lot of outs left to be had here. I don't have a beer hat here with me. Should I get a beer hat of some sort? What should be my beer hat? Should I put my Sonic drink? Also, of course, this is a good part of the lineup for Arkansas. You've got Ruiz, who's been outstanding all weekend, and really since he came back from injury, really all year. So you got him coming up. Looks like Georgia's going to the pen. Who we got going in here? They are going to Brown, who I believe pitched. Did Zach Brown pitch the other day? Am I tripping? Zach Brown for Georgia. Let me see if I can get some numbers on him. Let's see. Yeah, Zach Brown in for Georgia. He's thrown 19 innings this year, 3.66 ERA. That can't be the same guy that threw the other day, right? No, it is. Oh, my God. It's the guy that threw 3 innings on Thursday, came in relief and only allowed 1 run, and it was a solo home run to Carter Rudenbar. He threw 41 pitches on Thursday. So, wow. Back-to-back, outings for him, not on the same back-to-back days, but very, very interesting there. My guy Hayden Ulmer says, Ellis keeps Sonic in business. I do. Well, one, Sonic doesn't need me to keep them in business. Everyone in the chat right now, you do not know a human being who consumes as much Sonic as me. It's a weird thing that I'm like, when I was a young child, I got in on Sonic. My mom was obsessed with Sonic. We used to go to the same school. She taught at the same school I went to in 6th grade. Every single day we would go to Sonic, literally every single day. And so, yeah, it's just kind of, I've been grandfathered in, man, to the Sonic addiction. By the way, Hayden, you know who I want to keep in business is Down the Bayou. Shout out to Luke Carpentier and his brother, their new spot. I was actually, so WrestleMania is today, for those that don't know. Hillary and I were thinking about getting some crawfish, but we decided logistically, me doing this, overlap in the schedule and all that is going to be kind of tough to pull off. So we've gone a different direction. Oh, man. Now my stream is crapping out on me a little bit, so I'm going to have to go to the phone. Whatever. Ooh, let's see. Seth wants to know what's up with Souza. You got to be more specific. What do you mean? Like why is he not hitting the ball hard? Like what specifically is it you want to know about? Because, I mean, frankly, there's a lot of guys you could sit there and say, why is Cam Kojal not catching pop flies hit right to him? Why is Carter Rutenbar not catching the ball they throw to him at first base? At least with that one, we kind of know an answer. I guess Souza did have an infield single at some point in this game early on. I always laugh because it's like, again, it's like, all the time. All these guys go through their ups and downs. That's kind of just how it works a little bit. So yeah, he's not having a good day today. Coming into the weekend, he had been Arkansas's top SEC hitter. He was hitting 333 in SEC play coming into this. I guess he's got just the one hit this weekend. Did have a pretty good day on Thursday. But yeah, last night was a rough night at the plate for Souza. But that's been more of he's been better more often than he's been bad in SEC play for the most part. And he's probably about to come up here in a huge spot, so we'll see if he comes through. All right. I'm seeing Damian Ruiz down 1-2. Are we am I spoiling or am I behind? Have y'all already seen Arkansas score runs? Where are y'all at? I had to switch my my apparatus a little bit. Yeah. Seth says, I hope you're right. Well, I need you to be more specific. What specifically is it you're asking? Because I don't know what you're asking. So it's like, did he have a good day yesterday? No, he didn't. Has he had good days before? Yeah. We'll see if he has a good day, here. But I mean, I don't know what the question is. So I can't answer the question. Uh-oh, Damian Ruiz got a base hit. Looks like that's going to score 2. So we're looking at 14-11 now. Still 1 out. I like that. Damn, dude, Damian Ruiz is locked in at the plate. I think the only time he got out yesterday, it was a line drive hit right to the left fielder. He obviously homered yesterday. I think he had a double, a single, couple walks today. He also almost got Dave ejected because he had that weird strike call on the one that was below his knees there. Dave went crazy at the umpire there. I thought Dave was for sure going to get tossed at one point. I thought he was almost trying to get tossed. But man, Damian Ruiz, since coming back from injury, that dude is just seeing an absolute beach ball up there, man. Taking walks, stealing bases, hitting doubles, hitting singles, hitting homers. That dude's killing it. And now you've got Camden Kojal at the plate, and he represents the tying run. How about that? Wow. Okay. Ooh. Okay. So Camden Kojal grounds one to shortstop. Thought we might have a double play there. Didn't have. It was hit a little bit too softly for them to turn it. Didn't get a great return throw. So now we've got first and third with 2 outs. That'll bring, I guess, Helfrich, right, up to the plate. Also represents a tying run. Helfrich, who has already hit a 3-run home run in this game, which tied it up when it was 6-9, made it 9-9. Hit that ball 401 feet, by the way. Did not need the wind. In fact, he hit it kind of against the wind. It's good to see the sun now out at Baum-Walker Stadium. Earlier, dude, it was frigid out there. Windy, cloudy, cold. Oof. Tough strike one call there. I didn't like that. Tough strike 2 call. The zone early on, I was kind of thinking, I was like, man, the zone is very small. The Georgia started the first inning walking 2 or 3 guys. And I was kind of thinking, I'm like, man, they're getting squeezed a little bit. All right, ball 1. And now it seems like the zone has kind of expanded a little bit. Who knows? But yeah, it's one thing because, listen, if you just have your zone where you're like, hey, this is my zone, I give 3 inches here on the outside, I kind of shift it over left, at least let us know, all right, that's the zone, now let's adapt to it. you can't have it fluctuating and moving a little bit. Okay, ball two. The one thing I do like about what Arkansas has done offensively, and I mean, they have 11 runs, so they've done a lot of good things offensively in this game. Every single pitcher, I mean, they started off with the submarine guy. He faced 4 hitters. He got out of there. Never had an easy at-bat, never really got into a groove. You had the kid, I can't remember, it was like Walter, something like that. Farley. Ooh, Helfrich punches out on a fastball. That sucks. Okay, so Arkansas will go. Now Arkansas has 6 outs to score 3 runs. 2 important ones there for sure, but really none of their pitchers have had easy innings where they're just kind of cruising through. Even Scott, who did very good for them, had to throw a ton of pitches, had to work a lot. I do like that. I mean, if you score 11 runs, you should be in pretty good shape. I don't care if it's game 3. I don't care who you have on the mound. Let me look at the numbers real quick. Stat Broadcast has only 10 of the 14 runs Arkansas has allowed as earned runs. They have Gackle, 4 runs, 2 earned runs. Fisher, 4 runs, 2 earned runs. You can look at the final lines, and it looks like Gackle and Fisher pitched similarly. I don't think that's me personally. I thought Fisher pitched substantially better than Gackle, if you ask me. I didn't think Fisher was awesome, but I thought was a lot, gave himself a chance, wasn't throwing breaking balls right down the chute, wasn't throwing changeups elevated up, which I'm sure once we get into the series recap portion of this, you guys are going to want to talk about Gabe Gackle. I would love to give you an answer as to why he's obsessed with throwing, pitches that cover so much of the heart of the plate. A lot of times when you see guys get shelled, you think, okay, so I guess their stuff just really isn't that good. It doesn't matter how good your stuff is. If you're throwing a breaking ball right down the middle and a little bit elevated, you go look at the first home run that Gabe Gackle gave up. I'm sure Georgia tweeted it out. Tell me where that pitch is located. It is right down the middle and just a little bit elevated. Now, the one that he gave, the solo home run he gave up, which gave up the lead, made it 7-6, it probably shouldn't have got out of the park. And it wasn't directly right down the middle, but it's a changeup to a left-handed hitter right up over the heart of the plate and elevated a little bit. And it's like, we just can't live there, dude. I understand mistakes happen, and sometimes you hang one, sometimes things happen, but it's like you're in an 0-2 count, and then later, the next inning, and he should have been out of the next inning without any damage, but Kojal had the drop pop up, and then you have 2 outs later in the inning, 0-2 count, and you throw an elevated fastball that's just right there in the middle of the plate. You have to have some sort of awareness there, and I think it's just a command thing. I think it's one thing to just, when you say poor command, a lot of times you think walks. Where do you want to pitch it, and how far are you? You're never going to be able to throw every pitch exactly where you want it. But if we're throwing, if it's an 0-2 count and we're thinking, all right, let's throw a slider low and away, kind of just below the zone, or how much are you missing that spot by? And if you are missing, you need to miss low where you can't get beat. You can't miss your spot by 3 MF feet, and it goes right down the middle of the plate. That just, at this level, and being as good as he is with as good a stuff as he has, that's inexcusable, dude. I'd love to say I have an answer for you. I just don't. I really don't, and I don't think they do either. Mark Brissy's in the game, by the way, and he just allowed a base hit. I actually like going to Mark Brissy here. I thought he threw really well in North Little Rock, and you just need anybody that can get you outs. But this is a nice little spot where it's not like it's a high leverage situation because the end of the series, but it's like you're down by 3. It's not like you're giving Mark Brissy the ball 3-2 in the 9th inning and being like, hey, go get us a save. So if he does his job and gives Arkansas a chance to come back and win, maybe that's something he can build off of. If he doesn't do his job, if he gives up a bunch of runs, well, you already gave up 4 unearned runs and 14 runs overall. We call that a high reward, low risk situation here for Mark Brissy. Would love to see him rise to the occasion. By the way, Coyle threw in this game. I thought Coyle wasn't that bad. You look at the final line, he gives up 5 runs in 2 2/3 or whatever it was. I didn't think he was too bad. He just like that first home run to Daniel Jackson, that was, the wind. Everyone's going to point to the wind. I'm sure Dave's going to go to the press conference and say, well, our whole team's sick and the umpire screwed us and the wind. And I don't really buy that. But the first Daniel Jackson home run definitely was the most wind-aided out of all of them. His second home run got a little bit of help from the wind, but it was at least a well-hit ball. Ooh, that's a really good bunt. Pompey can't come up with the play. It was going to be a tough one. He was going to have to – he basically had no choice but to try and barehand that. But, man. So you have a legitimate base hit and then a bunt single. That's a tough one here. It's a tough one. The last time Brissy pitched in an SEC game was at Auburn in Game 3. And it was a similar kind of situation where Arkansas was like down. It was not 14-11, but it was like 6-3 or something like that. Arkansas was down and okay. Ground ball to Souza, 4-6-3. Huge double play there for Arkansas, honestly. That'll get you 2 outs. Mark Brissy has thrown 6 pitches and now has 2 outs and allowed 2 hits. But we'll take that. Needed that for sure. Isn't it crazy when they hit the ball to you, you're allowed to just make the play sometimes. You're allowed to just, field the ball, hit to you, get it to your teammate. He's allowed to catch it, and then he can catch it, get it out and throw it. It's crazy. When you just do what you're supposed to do, it looks fun. It looks easy. Ooh. They're saying the ball hit him. Helfrich seemed to think that it hit the bat. Dave wants a review. Dave hit him with the. I feel like Robert Moore invented that. Robert Moore, every single time, because he was at the beginning of the review era. Every single play in the field, Robert Moore would be hitting it. And now you just see it. It's like a go-to thing. That hit the bat, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I could be wrong. They're showing the replay here. I don't know what part of his body. Do they think it hit his forearm? Oh, it actually might be catcher's interference. It actually might be catcher's interference because he hit Ryder Helfrich's glove is what it looked like on that replay. I'm not listening to the commentary, which thank God. No disrespect. I don't know who the guy is that's filling in for Brett today. No disrespect. I'm sure he's a great young man, great man of faith, man of character, leader in his community. I don't think Brett Dolan should be able to take days off, if I'm being honest with you. Boy, Dave is not a happy camper right now. Yeah, they called it hit by pitch on the field. They're now reviewing whether or not it actually hit him or not. I don't think the pitch hit him. I think it hit the bat. The problem is that and I don't know if they can add this in. It's kind of like these reviews are kind of weird sometimes. Like, can you add extra things? I don't know if they're going to review whether or not he hit Helfrich's glove because the bat definitely hit Helfrich's glove, which would be by rule catcher's interference. Let's see. But no, I don't think, by the way, I don't think he went around on this pitch. Ooh. Okay. They go foul ball here. I think it definitely hit his bat. And I guess they can't add in, it's like if you're reviewing out of bounds, you can't in basketball, you can't add in a foul after the fact. So maybe Arkansas kind of benefited from that. Okay, hold on. Now we're getting another challenge because now Georgia wants to know, was that catcher's interference? I don't expect this one to go Arkansas's way. I think that the bat definitely hit Helfrich's glove here. Y'all remember Luke Bonfield, former Razorback DH? He one year had 9 catcher's interferences because he would sit so far back in the box and he'd get into a 2-strike count, let the ball travel a little bit, have that catcher reach out a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough one. But listen, I understand we all love our Hogs here. I think catcher's interference, if we're going by the rules, I think that's the right call here. Okay. Listen, that's a tough break. At the same time, I think that is, by definition, what was supposed to happen there. A little bit of a tough one here. So now Wes Johnson's trying to say now that runner at third gets to score, which I don't think that's reviewable. I don't think that's how that works. Boy, Dave is not a happy camper, man. This whole going live in the middle of the game thing seemed like a great idea. All right. Now, if you're Mark Brissy, man, you've been sitting around for 10 minutes, freshman in an SEC game. It's a big situation. You can't lose focus here. First and third, 2 out, 3-run game still. You just scored two runs. So, the difference between a 14-11 game and a, 4-1 game feels very different. Like 3 runs with 6 outs to play with doesn't sound like a great situation. Arkansas would love to be in that situation. Okay. Nope. 2-0 count now. This is the danger spot here. And this is Daniel Jackson, by the way, who's pretty good at hitting. Not very good behind the plate, but when he's at the plate, very good. Good pitch there. 2-0. Bottom of the zone. Let's see. Does he go fastball 2-1? He does. Oh, my God. Another godforsaken error. And this one will be on Souza. I think that'll be the first actual error on Souza today because I don't think any of the other errors were actually charged to him. Oh, no, that's his second. Where was the other one? Can't remember. But good Lord, dude. I don't know if it's just a yip situation or not, but like, what the hell? Souza, for most of the last 2 years, Souza's been not only a good enough defender, but like a guy that they kept in because of his defense, like Reese Robinette. Like Reese Robinette, when he made an error in the 9th inning in Omaha last year, everybody was like, oh, screw that guy. He sucks. It's like Reese Robinette was your best defender, at first base all year. Souza's, and it really up until like 10 days ago, I don't know if he even had an error on the season until about 10 days ago. But in the last couple of weeks, it's just crazy. God, that's a brutal run. So you end up getting a ground ball to shortstop. That's brutal, man. That is absolutely brutal. 5 errors on Arkansas today. You don't deserve to win when you play that way. That's unbelievable, dude. I mean, ground ball hit right at him. You have the best hitter in the Georgia lineup. You have a freshman pitcher on the mound who actually executes a 2-1 fastball in the outside corner, gets a rollover, gets exactly what you want, and you can't make the play. That's brutal, man. Absolutely brutal. Seth, buddy, you clarify what question is it you are asking? Like, do you want them to? Because I mean, listen, he's made 2 errors today. Do you want someone else to play second base? We can have that conversation. We can absolutely do it. You can move over Kojo second. You can get Brumball back in there short. You can move Pompey over. Maybe you have Robinette play third, Pompey play second. Like, whatever conversation you want to have, we can have it. But like, you're being very vague. You're like, you're like, we got to ask about Souza. What do you want to ask about him? Just articulate a question and I'll answer it for you. I'll say, yeah, I think that's a good idea, or no, that's a bad idea. But like, you got to give me something, dude. You got to give me a little bit. Work with me. All right. So now you're down 4. You're 15-11 with 6 outs to work with. This is an interesting one. Razorback Redleg says, for a baseball casual, how do I contextualize the inconsistency of this team? Well, one, like, baseball is just a sport of variance. There's a reason they call it batting average. You always have guys that you're going to, like, if you're a 300 hitter, which 300 means you're getting on base or you're hitting 3 out of every 10. That means even if you're good, you're failing 70% of the time. And then, of course, it's not like you go, 1 for 3 every game. You go 3 for 4, and then you go 0 for 4, and then you go 1 for 4. It's kind of always going to be a little bit of a fluctuation. But for this team, in this particular team's defensive struggles here, a big part of the equation for that Razorback Redleg is Arkansas offensively hasn't been great most of the year, and so they've had to get creative to try and get their best offensive lineup in there. They've had to shuffle guys around defensively. Like, for example, Carter Rutenbar has been awesome offensively for Arkansas. He's given them a nice little spark at the plate. They love having his bat in the lineup. He's the backup catcher. Obviously, he's not going to catch over Ryder Helfrich, who's also one of your best hitters. So they've had to try to play him in left field, tried to play him in right field, tried to play him at first base. And so while you're doing that, you're getting some good offense, but you're sacrificing some defensively. And his glove in left field actually wound up costing Arkansas that Missouri State game a couple weeks ago that we were all freaking out about because he dropped a fly ball, 2 runs scored, you end up losing by 1. And then today he's at first base, makes a critical error, which wound up leading to that whole inning where they scored 2 or 3 runs. I can't remember. Same thing with Kojo playing shortstop. And for the most part, let's see, not going to get through. 5 outs remaining. But yeah, same thing with Camden Kojo. Carson Brumball was the starting shortstop because he was the best defender there, freshman, ceiling through the roof. He wasn't getting it done at the plate. Kind of became obvious, hey, they can't play him. So now you move over Camden Kojo to shortstop, a position that he's really not, that's not his natural spot there. That's not what he's going to play professionally. He's probably going to be more of a second baseman, definitely going to be a second baseman professionally. So then you kind of have a guy out of position there. Zach Stewart at Kahio Aloy. They like both of those guys offensively. Both suck defensively. So you're kind of taking an adventure with them. When Damian Ruiz was out, you were having just freshmen around. And so Arkansas's had to make that decision. Do we want to just put out our best defensive lineup, which includes Reese Robinette, which includes Carson Brumball? You know what I mean? And so it's like they've had to make a lot of these decisions. And then on a day like today, one of your guys that has been one of your best defenders all year, Nolan Souza, has his worst defensive game of his life. And when you add all these things together, that's how you get a game like today. Man. And so, okay, now Seth got back to us. He says he's supposedly our best infield defender and his defense is garbage today. And he hasn't been hitting all weekend. Today, our middle infield hasn't been great. Yes, I would like to see someone else step in. Fair enough. Like, I appreciate you at least like giving us something there. Yeah, I don't think they're going to – I doubt they're going to bench Souza like altogether. They have benched him before. I mean, he got benched a little bit last year, has been in and out of the lineup early on this year. But coming into the weekend, he hadn't made an error. I think he had like 1 or 2 errors on the entire season and was the leading hitter in SEC play. So I don't begrudge them for like having him in there now. But now that he has had a really rough game, hasn't had a great weekend at the plate, it changes the equation. And so, yeah, I imagine I think Carson Brumball is now going to have a chance to get back into this lineup, or at least a chance to be in the conversation, which he wasn't before. I definitely think his performance today and this weekend changes things. But again, like, I don't think that was like a flawed premise. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it was like a crazy Dave Van Horn decision to have him at second base, or to have whoever, Carter Rutenbar in the lineup, or even Reese Robinette, a guy that everybody was mad about, and understandably so. He wasn't producing offensively, which changed the equation, which is why they took him out of the lineup. But again, I think you're going to continue to have these conversations, because everyone was doing the same thing with Carson Brumbaugh when he was playing shortstop. It's like, how could this guy play? We got to get him out of there. Well, you did get him out of there, and now you've got issues there. Souza, you're watching him at second base. Oh, we got to get him out of there. All right, well, now you're going to have to put someone else in there. You're probably going to have some issues there as well. And so I think right now you just got a lot of guys playing out of position. And when you have guys playing out of position, you need the guys that are playing in position to be very good. You can't have TJ Pompey ever making errors. You can't have Nolan Souza making errors over at second base. You can't have, Micah New not getting to a ball in center field. Like, you need your guys in the middle, like someone like Helfrich, the middle infield and the center fielder. You need those guys to really step up, and that hasn't really happened. And then Tristan says, why do they like Stewart and Cahillo so much offensively? Stewart isn't that great at the plate, and Cahillo so wishy-washy. I don't see it. Well, I mean, again, it's not that they like them that much. Both of those guys have been benched this weekend, literally. Everyone screams every weekend, you got to bench Cahillo. If you would watch the games on the weekend, they do bench Cahillo. He did not play in game one of the series. I think he did play last night. He's playing today. He's got a couple hits, but they benched Cahillo game one of the Florida series. They benched Cahillo game one of the Alabama series. They benched Zach Stewart game one of this series. They've kind of none of those guys have been every day they're in the lineup no matter what. They've all kind of rotated a little bit, and you're just kind of hoping one of them gets hot. But those guys, Stewart and Cahillo, the reason they like them offensively is because throughout their careers, they have produced a lot of runs. I mean, Cahillo led Arkansas in RBI last year. Hit 317 with 70 RBI. Again, he didn't hit well to start the season, and so it changed the equation. But again, it wasn't this flawed premise to have Cahillo Aloy in the lineup. Zach Stewart's hit 50 career home runs. If he's not producing those home runs lately, which he hasn't, all of a sudden it changes the equation. Now he's not in the lineup every day. Just what happens. You know what I mean? Let's see what we got here. Ryan says, Ellis, would you agree that we see our hitters pitch to in the same way each week and we don't make adjustments? Do you think it is a coaching issue? I would not agree with that assessment, only because every SEC team has completely different pitchers with different stuff. For example, Georgia has not thrown a left-handed arm this entire time. They have not been throwing any left-handed arms against Arkansas at all. We've seen certain hitters in the Razorback lineup. Stewart specifically, by the way, is a guy that really struggles against lefties. So I wouldn't agree with the assessment that it's the same way every weekend. You know what I mean? They were talking about it earlier on in the broadcast. They were like, oh, Cahillo, they throw a lot of breaking balls to him. He would maybe be a guy you could say, oh, he gets pitched similarly. He's made adjustments. The last 2 weeks, Cahillo has 9 hits. So I don't agree with either side of this equation. I don't agree with the one that they get pitched the same way each week, and 2 that they don't make adjustments. I agree. I disagree on both counts, to be honest with you. In fact, I think Arkansas, that's usually when they do big damage, it's whenever they sit on a specific pitch and they get it and they crush it, which is the case for everybody. Usually what happens is you get further into the season, you get more of those opportunities because the data you're working with is a little bit more. And that's why I think you've seen a lot of guys in Arkansas's lineup get better throughout the year. Now you're facing SEC competition, so it's it's never easy. But offense is not what is causing problems for Arkansas in this particular game. They have 11 runs right now. Let's see. Seth says, sorry to be so vague earlier. I appreciate the answer, and I agree with you. I don't know who you'd replace him with, and yeah, we'd probably have the same issues. Yeah, that's really my only thing, and that's why I got a little bit frustrated, because every week there's a different guy where it's let's have a conversation about Reese Robinette. It's okay, let's have a conversation. What conversation do you want to have? Or let's have a conversation about Cahillo Aloy. Let's have a conversation about Zach Stewart. Let's have a conversation about TJ Pompey. And all of these guys we've had conversations with, and all of them have had their ups and downs. TJ Pompey right now this week has been horrible. And it's you're looking at it and you're like, damn, we should have not started TJ Pompey. In hindsight, we should have just not played him. He was the SEC Player of the Week last week. And so it's like there's going to be ebbs and flows with all these dudes as Brissy issues a leadoff walk. By the way, Arkansas went 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the 8th while we were over here talking about it. And so that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm like, I think people really just want to complain more than they want to actually problem solve. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what was going on with you, but that's where like it's always kind of frustrating for me where I'm like, if you it's fair to complain about a guy like all these guys that we're talking about have had their games where they've stunk and we've been annoyed and been like, damn, wish we would have gotten more production from those guys. What I can't get behind is like, I don't think it's like a flawed premise to play some of these guys. I think you just need them to play and play better. Like for your team to reach their ultimate goal, you're going to need those guys to step up. And so, I think honestly, if I could be critical of DVH, I think DVH listens to the noise a little bit too much. And I think he kind of plays musical chairs with the lineup where it's like, if you just have your guys and you roll with them, they're all going to have their ups and downs, but at least you just kind of can get into a flow, can get into a rhythm, can get into some consistency. It's hard to have consistency if you're Kahil Aloy, if you're getting jerked around your spot in the lineup, you're not playing some days, you're playing some days you're pinch hitting, some days you're getting pinch hit for. It's hard to get into a groove. You know what I mean? And I think the same goes for a lot of these guys. Let's see. Oof. All righty. This one's getting blown open a little bit. O'Shaughnessy just hit a 2-run home run, and that makes it now a 17-11 game. And, yeah, it's a tough one, man. This is going to wind up, and like, again, it's not like losing a series to Georgia is like the most, the most heartbreaking thing of all time. It's just the way you lost it, man, and the way that I feel like you just kind of gave this game to them. Like last night's game, I was there, had a great time, was bummed out that Arkansas didn't string together some hits and make it work. But like that was a lot more easy to process, a lot more easy to say, all right, we just didn't get the job done today. What's frustrating about this is like, and it kind of felt this way early in the year where it's like, we know they're better than that. We know they're better than 5 errors, even if guys are playing out of positions. But man, it's a tough one. Let's see. Ryan says, Ellis, how is Georgia able to lead the league in home runs last season, lose their whole team, and do the same thing again? Is someone on that staff that good at hitting talent evals, and if we need him? Well, their hitting coach certainly is very good at that. He's almost certainly going to get a very, very big job here in the next couple of years. So that certainly helps. But also there's guys like that kind of everywhere. Georgia had the #1 transfer portal class this year. That is the way they do it. They never bring back the same roster. They always kind of rebuild, reload, and like they do it all through the portal. And they did a good job of that this past year. I will say, they haven't been to Omaha yet under Wes Johnson. Now let's wait this thing out. I'm sure they're going to have a good chance to go to Omaha this year. It's not like Georgia's just been this monster year in and year out who's just been dominating. To how they lead the league in home runs, they don't play anybody in non-conference competition. Now, they are doing well in the SEC. In fact, they're going to be #1 in the SEC after this weekend. Their hitting is more like top 3 or 4 in the league, if you look at all the categories in SEC play alone. And so I think sometimes you look at the numbers and it seems like they have this massive lead. In non-conference, they didn't go play in Arlington. They didn't play like a marquee series against like a Florida State or someone like that. So a lot of the numbers you see with Georgia, they've got like 110 home runs on the year. The reason it's such a big gap between them and the next teams in the SEC is because of non-conference play. In SEC play, they're still very good. They're they might be the best lineup in the SEC, but it's a lot closer to what you see from all these other programs. And, we'll see if they break through and get to Omaha this year. Let's see. See what the boys says. To go with your point, Andrew, about DVH, if you know you're going to be in the lineup every day, it takes some of the pressure off and makes guys not press so hard to be perfect. I would agree with this assessment 1,000%, and I would say that's the biggest. Like, we always talk about, every time Arkansas has a bad game offensively, it's like, oh, Nate Thompson. It's just the approach, launch angle. Oh, it's that. I think a very valid criticism of the coaching staff is how often guys go into these ruts where they just aren't anywhere close to the version of themselves that they need to be. And again, like baseball's a sport where that happens a lot, but you have guys go weeks at a time where they're swinging at pitches way outside of the zone. They are clearly, to your point, pressing like in a very weird headspace. That's what you can't have. You can have, we're going to have the game of baseball has enough variance as is. You're going to have your ups and downs just because of, the way pitchers pitch you, the way the defense makes plays, the way the ball bounces certain times, and maybe just the way you feel on a certain day. You can't afford to have multiple hitters in your lineup completely lose it for like long stretches at a time. And I think they should definitely figure something out a little bit. Hey, I don't have the big speakers like John normally has where he had like the buttons and all that, but huge super chat here from Mia Arnold says, you deserve something for watching this mess. Well, everyone deserves. I mean, we're all watching the same mess. And so perhaps we should all be, rewarded with something. I appreciate you rewarding me with the super chat. In all seriousness, appreciate you guys for tuning in. And listen, having everyone here together makes it all fun. Let's see. I've seen a few wrestling questions come in, which I got to be honest with you, I do appreciate. And I would be lying to you if I said that starting this a little bit early, like during the 7th inning, if WrestleMania didn't factor into the decision making just a little bit. But I see Tristan here says, do you think they put Randy over Cody tonight? I don't think they do. In fact, I would actually say I'd be surprised if they did. Now, I hope they do. Randy Orton's my guy. Randy Orton, that's my GOAT, if I'm being honest with you, Tristan. I don't think they're going to do that, especially with, bringing McAfee in. It's clearly like they want more eyeballs and all that. I think it's set up for Cody to, hit crossroads on McAfee, get a huge pop from that. I think the goal of bringing McAfee in was to solidify Cody as a babyface and Randy as a heel. Sorry for getting into the wrestling talk here a little bit early, but now that I'm really thinking about it, I think that was their goal, was to try and get the crowd behind Cody, which I'm not even crazy about it. I think they've completely botched it all, but I think if I had to guess, I think Cody's going over for sure. I would agree, Bino. Giving up 17 runs is absurd. It absolutely is. It very much is. I will say, one thing I will say, and this is not my way of saying, you shouldn't be upset about this, because I'm upset. You guys know. I'm never, as much as people think I am not that guy who is like trying to tell you how to feel or trying to tell you not to be sad about a loss or anything like that. But one thing I learned from my good friend Eric Musselman is that every game has its own identity. And obviously, you can learn from every game. There's things that happen in the games that you carry with you, and it all adds up for the same story. But every game has its own specific identity, which is how, Arkansas could give up 3 runs to Georgia on Thursday and give up 17 runs on Saturday. 2 very different games, different identities. The wind's blowing a certain direction. You got certain arms on the mound. You're playing like crap defensively. It all kind of adds together. And so I think people are going to see this and say, oh, wow, this Arkansas team just isn't capable of shutting down any good offense. Well, no, because they did it on Thursday night. Again, and it works the same way, where you could look at it on Thursday night and you could say, man, the way they pitched today, man, they could win. They could beat literally anybody. They could win every single game. That game had its own identity with Hunter Dietz and just kind of the way it played out. And so, as is the case every weekend, it's like you have to be in control of when your pitchers go. The identity of the game, you need to be able to control that as a great team. And that's what I really don't like about today, is that Arkansas completely let this one get away from them. I mean, you get up 6-1 early in the game, and they're deep into their bullpen already. They're starting to go 2 arms. I mean, they went to Matt Scott in the 3rd inning. I'm sitting here watching, and I'm like, that's a panic move. Like, they're going to him because they are panicked, and they can feel this game slipping away. And none of their pitchers felt comfortable. That Georgia dugout didn't feel comfortable. They then began to feel comfortable because of the way Arkansas let them back into the game. And a perfect segue here, because I mean, and listen, I want to, because Drew says, can you talk about Gackel's performance today? I will talk about Gackel's performance. Actually, before I do that, though, I will say, hold on. Let me pull up the stream real quick. I had my stream. I have an iPad here and a phone here. My iPad's starting to crap out on me a little bit, so I'm going to pull the game off on my phone real quick. Okay. Good Lord, man, this is not going well at all. But good to see Peyton Lee out there. Good to see Peyton Lee. I hadn't seen him in a while. What a situation for him to climb into here. Hey, he's getting swings and misses. Cool. But okay, Drew wants to talk about Gackel's performance. That is when Arkansas lost. That he's going to get the loss in this game. That is when things kind of flipped, and it was already starting. I mean, Coyle had given up a 3-run home run earlier in that inning. The whole and I know it's it kind of sounds like nitpicking to be like, oh, Coyle gave up a 3-run home run and that's acceptable, but Gackel giving up 2 home runs, that's not acceptable. Coyle gave up a home run which was somewhat wind-aided to one of the most dangerous hitters in the country, and he kind of got the ball up in the jet stream. It was a hard hit ball. You kind of just tip your cap, ball on the outside edge. Hitter does a good job. Okay. That is not good, but it's like I can at least live with that because that just makes sense. I executed a pitch. I didn't throw it over the heart of the plate, but the hitter did a good job of getting to it, getting up into the jet stream. Cool. You tip your hat, 6-4 game, you're up now. What we can't have is when you're ahead in the count as a pitcher, throwing a breaking ball that is right down the middle of the plate. That's what you can't have because that's then you're kind of letting your opponent, you're letting them off the hook a little bit. You're giving them new life because now the game's tied all of a sudden. And then, I talked about the changeup, the one he gave up on the changeup after that gave them the lead. That one, of course, got a little bit of help from the wind. But again, it's just right there. You're throwing the ball over the heart of the plate. And it does not matter how good your stuff is, no matter what your spin rate is, no matter what your release point is, what your, metrics are. If you're throwing the ball over the heart of the plate in the SEC, especially with the wind blowing out, you are going to get obliterated, And for Gackel, and look, listen, I love Gabe Gackel. As a person, I love Gabe Gackel, not like in a weird way, but like I have a lot of respect and admiration for Gabe Gackel as a pitcher, as a guy that, came to Arkansas and, chose to live out his college days here. And, and he's going to be richer than all of us when this summer rolls around. And he deserves to be. He's a super talented kid. I think he's going to wind up being a really good pitcher in the long run. He's addicted to leaving pitches over the heart of the plate. He's just addicted to it. I don't know what it is. Cause listen, mistakes happen. And I'm not saying, no pitcher has perfect command, but it's one thing, again, like if you're throwing the ball on the outer edge and you miss your spot and it goes a little bit outside and so you end up walking a guy, that happens. You're missing your spot by multiple feet and you're leaving the ball up in the SEC. It's like, that's the result that was supposed to happen there. And so much for Gackel. I mean, if you really go back and watch a lot of his outings, whether he's starting, coming out of the bullpen, closing, whatever, he leaves the ball directly over the heart of the plate. It really isn't that complex, and it's not that, like, crazy of an issue. And that's part of why, like, going back to – all righty. Arkansas got an out. They gave up another run, but they got an out. 20-11. Good God. But that's why, going back to when we were having this conversation with Gackel, when he was starting, it was like, everyone kept saying, oh, well, he's just not a starter. Just – throw him in the bullpen. That'll work. And I obviously I was arguing for him to stay in a starting role, which clearly, I don't think that would have solved any of his issues either. But I always pushed back against that notion because I was like, I don't think it's that, I don't think it's that simple of just like, oh, if I'm starting, I all of a sudden suck. And if I go to the bullpen, I'm going to be great. I never bought that. And so in a weird way, like him continuing to struggle in the bullpen almost makes me feel vindicated in a weird way because I was like, man, I just think there's a deeper issue with the command here that is just not being figured out. I go back to the offseason where he didn't throw at all, and then they kind of tried to speed run his entire offseason throwing program into a couple weeks. Also, is this call going to stand? Is this dude going to wind up being safe? Sheesh. Yuck. And Ryan right here is spot on where he says an 0-2 Gackel pitch is either completely non-competitive or hard of the plate. And I would agree with this. If you go to every single Gackel outing, there are several pitches that are just completely wasted where it lets the hitter off the hook where, you are going to miss. And listen, in an 0-2 count, I would rather you miss. Oh, dude's safe, so it wasn't even an out. Damn. Well, the good news is Arkansas can't get run ruled because we're already in the 9th inning, and you're going to get your chance to bat no matter what. But there's so many pitches where, again, it's like it. I would rather you miss low and completely off than anything else than leave in the middle of the plate. But again, it's either one or the other, and I just feel like it's a very basic, fundamental command issue, which I'm sure is now being compounded by a confidence issue, and I don't really know what to do about that. But I do know at this stage of the season and with the way it's played out, I don't think you can throw Gabe Gackle in high leverage situations, which is a crazy sentence to say, but it's undeniably at this point like kind of where we're at with the situation. And again, that's something that I think the entire coaching staff all kind of needs to sit there and look at and be like, how the hell did we botch this bad? Where you had a guy that is a projected first round pick, and not only are we not able to get him to be a Friday night starter, we're not able to get him to be a usable weekend starter. We are not even able to use him out of the bullpen effectively, which through all his struggles in his freshman and sophomore year, which he didn't have a ton of them, through all the ups and downs there, even then we could always count on that something happened in the offseason, and maybe it was just as simple as him not throwing at all, but just completely, he's not a guy that can be used in your weekend miss. You want to talk about circle of trust? Gabe Gackle's not in the circle of trust. How in the hell did that happen? I don't understand that, and I don't think I ever will. Hey, look, we got another error, I think. I mean, this is a joke at this point, man. This is a joke, dude. This is one of the most loyal Hog fans you'll find is Reagan on Twitter, and she always holding it down in the hot corner. She tweeted at me earlier in this game and was like, even if we come back and win, this is a game that I just want to forget. I'm definitely right there where I just want this to be over and I want to move on, and I want to move on to tomorrow, Goodness gracious. You have a ground ball hit to shortstop, and the throw just high and outside. Did they rule that an error? Let's see what they ruled it. Yeah, they did. 6 errors, dude. 6 errors. By the way, Arkansas, 24 hours ago, Arkansas was on a 6-game win streak. Life comes at you real fast, man. It's now 21-11, by the way, because Peyton Lee just hit a guy. Holy cow, man. And I will say, going back to the every game has its own identity type of thing, we go back to that because, again, coming out of the Auburn series, that was like my big takeaway was, hey, there's a very finite list of about 6 to 8 guys that Arkansas really can count on, and nobody other than those 6 to 8 guys should ever pick up a baseball, was kind of the way I felt about it. And then you watch the Alabama series, that's exactly what happened. Nobody outside of that group of 6 to 8 had to pick up a baseball. But we've now reached a point in this game because of the ineffectiveness of Gackle. Coyle, even though he gave up 4 or 5 runs, I actually thought he kind of did what he was supposed to do. Ooh, that might have been a grand slam, and it is 25-11. This is unbelievable, dude. This might now take the cake for the most disastrous watch party we've done, which is funny because it was 13-9 when we started this thing, and I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, it can't get worse than this. Oh, it can. 25-11, dude. 25-11. But again, you get back to a situation where you're like, you're throwing Mark Brissy, you're trying to get Peyton Lee, who hasn't thrown an SEC game all year. Now it's just kind of you're getting it's garbage time now, and you're getting dominated in garbage time. But holy cow, yeah. And then the boys here says thoughts on throwing Brumball can't get worse, and I feel like we need another arm. Yeah, they threw him against Auburn in a situation like this where it was like, hey, the game's kind of falling away from us. Now that was game 1 of a series where you're like, hey, really don't want to waste any of our top arms because we got 2 more games to play. So they wound up throwing Brumball. No, I'm all for throwing them. One, because they don't have none of their freshman pitchers are helping them right now. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. you guys know how I feel about the freshman class of pitchers. I think they've got a lot of pitchers that are good that can help them and that will have good careers, but none of them are at a stage right now in their development where they're like able to help you in an SEC game. I hope that doesn't sound disrespectful, but it's just the reality of the situation. And so you're not getting anything from your freshman class right now. You're not playing Brumball in the field, although, with the way that Souza and Kojal played in the middle infield today, might be something they consider again. And frankly, I think they should. I think Brumball I'm like the only guy left, but I actually do still have a little bit of hope for Brumball at the plate and as an offensive prospect. But if you're not playing him in the field, you're not getting anything from your freshman pitchers anyway, you might as well go ahead and it's another home run. 27. I'm not even joking. They literally just did another home run. Man, Ryan Wynn. If you're not playing him in the field and you're not getting anything from your freshman pitchers anyway, you might as well go ahead and throw them out there. And plus, at this point, no disrespect, it doesn't seem like Peyton Lee's going to be able to get these final 2 outs. And now John Marks says they just said Brumball's warming in the pen. Yeah, go ahead and bring him in. And by the way, Brumball, he throws 97 legitimately, has touched 97, 98. He's got some potential there as well. Now he also has potential at the plate. We didn't get to see a ton of that, so maybe it'll be similar. But I thought he was fine in his outing against Auburn, and it looks like he's coming in. So perfect timing there, the boys. Yeah, here he is, old number 1 on the mound. Yeah, unbelievable stuff, man. This is one of those. It's really hard to process how poorly this game has gone for Arkansas. 6 errors in a baseball game. You give up 21 hits on the mound. You give up 11 runs in the 9th inning. 11-run 9th inning. Really think about that for a second. They have a mercy rule, 10 runs. For a reason, okay, you if you get down 10 runs and it's the 7th inning or later, it's like, we are assuming you can't come back from that lead because 10 runs. Who could give up 10 runs in the final 3 innings? One game, 1 inning, 11 runs, and there's only 1 out. Man, that's crazy. I will say, so we've got 2 different viewpoints here in the chat, which I appreciate because these are 2 of our regulars here. We've got the boys says, is this baseball's burn the tape game? And then Ryan says, this is the kind of game that can tank an entire season. So I don't know if, honestly, I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I'll be very interested to see like what this looks like what the public stance is from DVH and Co. If they do have that, hey, this game got away from us. This is our low point, whatever. We move on, or if it is kind of like we got woken up and now we all hate each other and we're gonna quit. I don't know, man. It's just crazy because it's like how many times throughout this season have we had a look in the mirror, players only meeting, let's all come together thing. I think this team just might have a funky DNA. And what's frustrating about it is because I think I've already seen a lot of people doing the thing where it's like, oh, they're not going to make the tournament. But we're back to doing they're not going to make the tournament thing. They're going to make the tournament, like because they're going to win enough games to like be there. I just don't think that we can count on them to string together multiple weeks in a row of being competent, which is the real issue here. As Turner says, y'all are acting like we can't come back. It's only a 2-possession ball game. I mean, yeah, a touchdown and a 2-point conversion, and you're looking at a 7-run game. Just 1 touchdown and 2-point conversion, 7-run game with 3 outs to go. That's all you really need. This is a good question, actually, from John, because he says, you might have talked about this in the past, but why not Pompey at shortstop instead of Kojal? I thought he was the other potential starter to begin the year, and Kojal Souza can play third. No, you are definitely remembering that correctly, because preseason, for y'all that remember, that was the big thing, is we were like, all right, you're going to have Brumball and Pompey are like guaranteed to start on the left side of the infield. One of them is going to start at shortstop. One of them is going to start at third base. You can maybe even flip those guys. That was kind of the way we felt about it. And then it, became clear during like the lead up to the season that Brumball was the better defender there. But to answer your question, at the time that they made that decision to throw Kojal at shortstop, I can't remember what the exact lineup looked like that day. I'm pretty sure, though, that Pompey wasn't in the lineup at all. I think they had Robinette at third, Rudenbar at first, Kojal at shortstop. So I think when they made that decision to start Kojal at shortstop, at that point in the season, Pompey actually wound up coming off the bench and hitting a walk-off home run in that game. Pompey was not hitting well enough to even warrant being in the lineup at all, let alone at short, third, or anywhere. So I think when they made that decision to start Kojal at shortstop, that was assuming that Pompey wasn't going to be an everyday starter, which at this point it seems like he's, closer to being that. Although, I don't know if anybody is an everyday starter on this team, if I'm being honest with you. But I think that's kind of why they've rolled with him at shortstop. And I got to be honest with you, John, Kojal was doing a great job. He was doing a great job up until pretty much today, it wasn't really an issue over there. But holy cow, today him and Souza were just like, hey, you have a problem in the middle infield. And Mia Arnold, another big-time super chat. Appreciate it. She says, there's a lot to say, but I won't. Well, I appreciate this alternative, but yeah, feel free to get it out, man. That's what we do here for sure. Also, I'm saying Mia Arnold. I think this is our guy, Mark Arnold. And I'm like confused because it's got me rethinking everything. I guess this is maybe just, okay. But this is our guy, Mark Arnold, who we remember fondly, friend of the program, and out on the West Coast holding it down for us. Appreciate you, Mark. Absolutely. I just was reading it and saying Mia, which I don't know. Maybe Mia's related to Mark. I don't know. But regardless, appreciate it. And, man, this is ugly. Brian says, is this the ugliest inning in Razorback baseball this century? Yeah, it might be. It might be. I'd have to really go back and think about this for a while. I can't think of one that went this poorly. But I also, I definitely haven't been live for one that was disgusting like this. But if I'm being honest with you, you guys have been watching me this whole time. It got to a point once it was 17-11, that's kind of when you realize, all right, it's over. They're not going to win. Everything after that is kind of just, water under the bridge at that point. Man. I'm looking forward to watching Dave's press conference just because I don't know what he's going to say. Genuinely, I really don't. It's by the way, our guy Samuel here says, Andrew, I hope Akizi, the basketball recruit, left before this inning. I feel confident that he did, but he was there at the game today. It seemed like, and by the way, great atmosphere, great crowds all weekend, even yesterday during the rain delay. It was great crowds, man. It was great participation. Everything was going well. Uh-oh. Oh, did he catch that in the air? Okay. We got an out. Good job, Carson Brumbaugh. Good job, man. Big time. I thought for a second there, I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why is he not throwing the ball? I like that. Yeah, it's just funny. It feels like we've done this 3 times this year where we're like, all right, is this rock bottom? Is this the worst moment? Is this going to be where the beginning of the championship DVD? Let's see. Lazy Turtle says, do you see this season keeping any of the juniors from getting drafted now? Seems like Helfrich and Dietz are the only ones performing consistently. So I would say Kojal's an extreme borderline lock to get drafted and get drafted pretty well. I mean, all of them would get drafted on some level. It's just a matter of would they fall enough to where they then say, hey, if you're not, if I'm not signing for $300K, I'm not going or whatever. If any of those guys made a decision that hey, I want to sign no matter what, pretty much all of them would get drafted. But, Gackel's going to get drafted and he'll sign and he'll go on. Kojal will get drafted. He'll sign. He'll go on. Who else are we thinking about here? Let me pull up the roster real quick. Now, I know Pompey's stock has fallen a good bit. I still don't anticipate him coming back. The one guy that I really do think this year could actually get back would be Kahio Aloy. Because I think, with him not playing a position and him not really showing, hey, there's a punch out for Carson Brumbaugh. I like that. Good stuff, Carson. Good stuff. But yeah, with Cahillo, the bat hasn't really come around the way that, you hoped. He hasn't been able to play a position. I could see him being a guy that comes to school for another year, but I really don't think there's that many, guys that are in that mix. Late Night Climax wants to know, why doesn't Jordan Martin pitch more? Yeah, he did a pretty good job in his couple outings, that he's gotten opportunities for, but it's very different pitching, a random 13-2 game or pitching in a midweek game that's kind of a blowout than it is pitching in the SEC. So I personally would not assume that like Jordan Martin would just be like crushing it in SEC play. And like I was saying, earlier, like I felt like Arkansas has a list of about 6 to 8 guys that they really trust. And no disrespect to Jordan Martin, none of the freshmen are in that list. He's not quite in that list. And so who knows? I mean, maybe they'll give him an opportunity, especially with the way that things have gone. There are some midweek games coming up. I'm sure he's going to get another opportunity, but they're trying to find, hey, who are those 6 to 8 guys that we can really count on this week, on weekends. And, Jordan Martin's probably getting closer to that list just from other guys falling off. But I don't think like going into the weekend, there was really any case to be made that like, oh yeah, they should, if it gets to a close game on Saturday, we should go to Jordan Martin. I don't think it was like, I don't think it was really like close to being considered there. And frankly, I mean, like Mark Brissy, because in the off season, all the freshman pitchers threw and had their moments. Mark Brissy was like by far the most effective freshman. Peyton Lee was pretty close up there. You've seen how those guys have done in SEC play. Martin has, thrown pretty well in the games that he's pitched in. He wasn't throwing as well as those guys in the off season. So it's hard for me to get to the point where I'm like, oh, yeah, he would be not only usable, but he would be like good in SEC games. I think it probably would have gone about like all these outings have gone here today. Man. Real quick, before we get too sidetracked here, which this has already gone off the rails, I do want to give a shout out to the official post-game sponsor of the Baumbastic Podcast. That's OZK Insurance. And one thing that really sets them apart is they're an independent insurance agency. That means they're not tied to just one company. They shop a multitude of A-rated carriers to find the best coverage and price for you. And now they've paired with something that you don't usually see from an independent agency, a full-service mobile app. With the OZK Insurance app, you can see all your policies under one roof, home, auto, whatever you have, bills, roadside assistance, file claims, request policy changes, or even get new quotes all from your phone. So you get the best part of an independent agency and the convenience of modern technology. If you're tired of being stuck with one carrier or chasing down paperwork, go to ozkinsurance.com or search OZK Insurance in the App Store or Google Play. Local agency, national level options, one powerful app. That is OZK Insurance. And we appreciate them for being the presenting sponsor of these post-series recaps, which, man, this is didn't imagine this one going as crazy as it did. I am, in a weird way, glad that I started off, that we went live to begin this one. Hey, there's a base hit from Cahillo Aloy. 3-hit day for Cahillo Aloy. Isn't that what everybody wanted? What's everybody upset about? We wanted Cahillo Aloy to hit. He's hitting. What's wrong? Yeah. I feel you, L. That Benjamin does not want me to finish this live stream. All right, TJ Pompey. The beginning of the 15-run inning starts right here with TJ Pompey. What we got? All righty, there's strike one. Let's see. Griffin UA says no Campbell, Knight, Woods, Smith, 0 dogs on the mound. Did Hunter Dietz just die? You don't think Hunter Dietz is a dog on the mound? Genuinely, like seriously, I do want a response to this. You don't think Hunter Dietz is a dog? Because if Hunter Dietz isn't a dog, then I don't. There are no canines in this world. Then, if that guy's not a dog, then I don't know. Uh-oh. Base hit from TJ Pompey. Uh-oh. Don't let the Hogs get hot now. Don't let them get hot. Yeah. I want them to score like 4 runs. I'm not asking for, you to come back into the game and win 27-26 on a walk-off. I just want them to score 4 runs so this game just continues to have a weird identity. Oh, Carter Rutenbar. Little base knock. All right, so you got bases juiced. Carter Rutenbar, I think he's got 3 or 4 hits today. What's he looking at? Yep, 3 for 3 today with 3 runs. 3 hits and 3 walks. I'd imagine that hasn't happened much. In the midst of all this chaos, Carter Rutenbar accomplishing feats that we didn't know were possible. Which, by the way, this is a good time to remind you guys, because I know everyone, obviously, today's game, this is a disastrous game, disastrous 9th inning, really a huge WTF moment, really disappointing. I think everyone's going to jump to like, all right, so we're back to just this team sucks. They're not making the tournament. Obviously, you guys understand it's not going to look like this all the time. Now, it's also not going to look like the way it did on Thursday night. It's not going to look like that every game either. The reality is you're going to have to fight and scratch and claw for every win you get in this league. Arkansas didn't do it today. They didn't even come close to doing it today. In fact, they did the exact opposite of it. But as we know, these things happen, and there are going to be games that you'll be surprised. Oh crap! How did they come around and win that game? It's weird that Arkansas played Mississippi State, Alabama, and Georgia, and somehow went. I guess what would that be? They went 6-3 against those 3 teams, the best 3 teams they've played in SEC play. You're going to Como next weekend. That's another funny thing about this is like Arkansas next weekend could play like their C+ game and get like an easy road series win. And that's not a knock on Missouri. I'm sure they're better this year. So even if Arkansas just kind of half-asses it next week, they'll probably end up getting a series win, and that's really just what they're going to need. Just to kind of get back to realizing you don't actually suck. Yes, Ryan, we do have Missouri State midweek, so that'll be fun. At Baum this time. Okay, 26-12 game now. We got a walk that brought who it has. Has that been Cahillo that comes home? Damian Ruiz makes it through. Yeah, man, this is how funny would this be if Arkansas? Let's get it to 20. Can we get it to 20? 26-20. If Arkansas lost 26-20, I'd be like borderline thrilled, honestly. Let's see. We got a little bit of freshman talks here. Where did it go? Oh, yeah, the boys says, no hate to Rudenbar, but I think he will be the worst out of Turner, Brum, and him, and that is saying a lot. Well, that's a statement for sure. I would say he's not only not the worst, I would say he's unequivocally, without a doubt, the best. Yeah, no, I don't even, I can't even really meet you on this one. I don't know what you're talking about. I think Brumball is not only the best freshman Arkansas's got right now, he's like maybe one of the better pieces in the lineup overall, and a dude that I think they can really build on some things, moving. Like, I think if everyone had Carter Rutenbar's mentality, this team would not be losing 26-12 right now. I'll tell you that right now. Brian says, Dietz is the man. We don't seem to have enough on the mound overall. Kershaw, Dawson, Fisher have been major disappointments. Gackle was a minor disappointment. Gackle was a minor disappointment? I feel like of all the times you've been overreactionary, I feel like that's the most calm. That's the biggest understatement you've ever said. I would say Gackle being a major, major disappointment is the big issue here. And that's really the only one that you can't afford to have. Like Dawson being inconsistent, you can live with that. Fisher being inconsistent, you can even live with that. Kershaw being unusable, you can live with that. If Gackle were just the Gabe Gackle of last year, Arkansas would be, I would say, they're a top 16 team right now. Arkansas would be a top 10 team in the country if Gackle were just even close to the version he was last year. this entire weekend and this entire game would have a completely different identity. I mean, you put in Gabe Gackle into a 6-4 game in the third inning. If he gets you into the 6th or 7th inning with a chance to win the game, that's what he did a lot of last year. This would be we'd be having a very different conversation if Gackle were just doing his job. Kojal hits a ball. That's a fly out to center. That'll get another run home. It's 26-13. Don't look now. Don't look now. Let's see. Mark says if the Hogs win this game, Andrew gets 5,000. Well, I appreciate the sentiment. And honestly, man, you've given us enough over the years. You don't owe us nothing. I promise you. All right, Ryder hits a little chopper. That will be out number 2. Okay, Hogs down to their final out. And I got to be honest with you guys. My plan initially was, hey, we'll watch the final couple innings together, and then we'll do a whole live series recap. I don't really know if there's much for us to recap. I don't know if there's much to talk about, but I will open it up now. If there is anything you guys do want to talk about, I'm all ears, and I'm down to have the conversation with you. And by the way, I'm still going to keep doing my thing. We'll continue to do the Baumbastic Podcast. Tomorrow will be nice because we'll get a little bit of a break from all this garbage, but we're going to be right back on the horse. We're going to continue doing this thing. And this season, man, has been an absolute roller coaster. It has been disappointing. It has been at times excruciating, at times really fun. What I really truly feel, not that and I'm not what I'm not doing right now is convincing you like Arkansas is about to go on this run and be awesome. This season's a roller coaster. There's going to be a peak, and there's probably going to be another valley, and then there'll probably be another peak, and then probably another valley. Of all the times to jump off the bandwagon, I actually genuinely don't think it's right now. I think if you were going to do it, it probably would have been after that Auburn series, because that was when you're like, all right, they're 5-7. You got a tough road series coming up. Like, I just don't see a path forward for them. But then they went out there and swept Bama, when nobody expected them to do it. You got a winnable series next week and that you'll be favored to win. Go out there and win that series. You're right back, kind of where you need to be. There's a lot of winnable series down the stretch. And weirdly enough, I think that if they were all on the road, I'd feel pretty confident in Arkansas winning them all. But they're going to have to play some at home, 2 at home. And the 2 you play at home are against better competitions. That's a little bit tough. This is good. I like this. So John says, tell us where you think the best 9 and 3 weekend starters right now if I were the head hog. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. So Rudenbar's definitely in my 9. Ruiz definitely in my 9. Kojal definitely in my 9. Helfrich definitely in my 9. New is definitely in my 9. Souza's probably in my 9. He's in my 9, I'd say. So that's 6 right now. I would go Aloy. Souza, by the way, just drew a walk. I would go Aloy. Pompey. Robinette. That would be my 9. So that would have you with Rutenbar at right field, Robinette at first base, Aloy at DH. That would be, Pompey at third base, or maybe Pompey at shortstop. Maybe that's what you do. Pompey at shortstop, Souza at third, Kojal at second. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe that's a shakeup they can really realistically make. Although it's not like Pompey's been that great at third. I don't know. But that would probably be my 9. I think that gives you the best mix because, the best defensive lineup features a bunch of guys like Robinette, Brumball, not great. Turner would be in that best 9 defensively, and Turner is a guy that you could certainly make an argument for, getting more opportunities. And your best offensive lineup obviously has a bunch of holes defensively. I think there's a middle ground there, and that's part of it, because I think Reese, of the 9 that I listed, I think Reese Robinette's the most arguable one, and I understand that. One, I think you need like some version of stability defensively, and Reese Robinette does give you that. But I think And I think he just is capable of hitting better and needs to hit a little bit better. Did Arkansas just score a run? I think they did. What does that make it? 26, 14, 15? It's going great. But then in terms of 3 weekend starters, obviously Dietz, no doubt about it. I think he's your number one guy. I think Gibbler, we didn't have really a chance to talk about yesterday's game. I thought that Gibbler, who gave up 4 runs, I thought Gibbler was actually pretty solid. Now, he had some tough luck there. Wasn't perfect. Didn't get a ton of swings and misses necessarily, but I thought he was competitive. He was fairly efficient. He had to battle a lot of things. The weather, there was multiple delays. You had the weather delay. Then you had the 30-minute delay while Georgia's pitcher got a fresh start. He comes back after that. And so I thought yesterday, and not to mention you're battling a really good Georgia lineup, I thought Gibbler, again, he hasn't been great in a starting role, which if you guys remember early in the year when everybody was screaming about Gibbler starting, I was like, hey, I don't know if it's necessarily going to just go that swimmingly necessarily, but and it hasn't. But I do think he can build off of what he's done the last 2 weeks. I think he's gotten a lot of experience. I think you need to keep giving him those opportunities because Gibbler is one of the most important pitchers on this roster. Whether he's starting, closing, or everything in between, Gibbler is very important. And so I think you need to have him ready for June where he's going to need to have a very big role. I think that role is probably as your number 2 starter, maybe your game 1 starter of a regional type of situation. So I'd like to see Gibbler stay in that rotation. And I wouldn't, Coyle I thought did a pretty good job today. I would prefer to use Coyle as a use reliever where he pitches once on Friday, once on Sunday, that kind of thing. I don't know. What I might do, honestly, is sit Gackle for 2 weeks and then bring him back as a starter. But really, personally, if you're asking me, I would save that third starting spot. I would do what they've done the last 2 weeks, which is piece it together. And then when Carson Wiggins is available, I would then use that third starting spot to build Carson Wiggins up. And that you would start off, obviously, his first outing back. Let's say he comes back the first weekend of May. Throw him 1 inning to start that third game. And then the next week, maybe you throw him 2. Maybe you get to Hoover, you throw him 2 or 3. But I would kind of use Carson Wiggins as an opener, especially since, one, nobody else has really stepped up and earned that role. But then you have other guys like a Fisher, Gackle, McGuire, who I thought McGuire also threw really well yesterday. Use those guys to kind of stretch out and just kind of piece together game 3s. I know that doesn't sound super ideal going into game 3, knowing you're going to piece it together, but that's what Georgia did today. That's what Arkansas did unsuccessfully today. That's what everyone does. You know what I mean? Georgia gave up 14 runs in a game 3. They gave up 13 runs in a game 3 last week. They gave up 18 runs in a game 3 to Texas A&M. And Georgia's the number 1 team in the SEC. And so it's nobody feels great going into game 3s, but I think you could do a lot worse than starting Carson Wiggins there. So that would probably be where I would go. I don't know if that inspires a ton of confidence, but that is what I think I would do. And you may say, Andrew, well, that's not that terribly dissimilar from what they did this weekend. Correct. Because I don't think the issues that arose for Arkansas today are issues, but I don't think they were issues of having the wrong guys doing the thing, in the wrong spots. I think it was just, guys playing like shit, which is usually always the type of thing. And then John says, interesting. I always saw Wiggins as a closer relief type. I can get behind it. Yeah, no, I definitely think if you look at his skill set, it's definitely a little bit more closer reliever type. The reason why I say that, all right, is that going to end it? All right, Zach Stewart flies out. The ball game is over. Arkansas lost 26-14. We stopped talking about this game a long time ago, but it is now official. Arkansas lost. They dropped to, I guess, what would that be? 9-9 in SEC play. Is that where Arkansas is at? Not great. Could be better. Could definitely be better, and it's going to need to be better. And next weekend series against Missouri is now genuinely. You want to talk about must wins? Because we always say that term must win, and you guys always hear me say, well, it's not really a must win. Next week's series against Missouri genuinely is a must win. It's not a must sweep, but I think a sweep would certainly be the correct way to go about that. But to get back to John's comment here, yes, I think Wiggins is definitely more of a reliever type of guy. He's really at this stage of his career like a 2-pitch guy with kind of maybe a third pitch. Although to be fair, we haven't been watching him pitch behind closed doors. So who knows? He may have developed some certain things. But I think with an arm that talented, for me, it's easier to control his workload if you start him. And now, again, I'm not saying start him and throw him 7 innings. In fact, I don't think he would throw more than 4 innings in any of his outings all year, regardless of what role you do it. But I think if you're trying to work a guy back and you're trying to ease him back into action, I would rather him start the first 2 innings. So, again, we can manage his workload. We can take our time with him warming up, and then he can go out there and throw a couple innings rather than saying, all right, hey, Wiggins, it's your first outing back. You've thrown 12 innings in your career. You're now coming off of a 15-month layoff. Your first inning back, it's 7-5 on Sunday, and we need you to close out this game. Like that to me is a tougher proposition than it is to just try and start him, manage his workload, and then kind of piece it together around him. And then who knows? I mean, maybe you do stretch him out a little bit, and he ends up by the postseason, maybe he is throwing 4 or 5 innings for you. But I think that's probably the way I would go about it. Well, guys, this was not fun. This was not fun at all. This was painful. This was disappointing, and I am sad about it. I know you guys are as well, but it's not the end of the journey. I mean, listen, even if the season ended today, Arkansas would be in the NCAA tournament, and they really are just going to have to kind of tread water down the stretch against some winnable series to make the NCAA tournament. But for now, we're going to have to put that hosting conversation on the back burner. Arkansas ain't doing that. They had a big opportunity, especially after winning game 1, to secure a huge series win and kind of remove all doubt. This game today certainly ain't going to remove all doubt. But appreciate you guys for, toughing it out. Even those of you that are mad and, calling me mean names, whatever. But appreciate you guys for, your love for Arkansas baseball, because that's what makes this whole thing go. And we'll have better days to talk about. Hopefully better days than this. Holy cow. So seriously, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Shout out to OZK Insurance for presenting our post-series recap. And I hope this will suffice for you guys, unless you guys just want to keep talking baseball. But I think you can find other things to do with your Saturday. If you want to talk WrestleMania, hit me up, whatever you got to do. But seriously, sorry that today went the way it did. I did my part, which is all I can do. And we'll see if DVH and the boys can get fired up and return with a little bit better effort in the coming weeks. But seriously, appreciate the support. And we'll be back tomorrow, as always, I guess not tomorrow. We'll be back Monday with Inside Arkansas Live, and we'll just keep doing our thing, man. Appreciate you guys. Y'all have a good one.